finally doing another video. I know it's been a long time and I promised to do one sooner. But the video that I wanted to make today is all about what you need to do or have or buy to start a newborn photography business. I'm going to break down newborn photography specifically just because that is what I specialize in. Let's talk camera gear. I own a Canon, and I'm only going to talk about Canon, so there are a lot of different cameras on the market. However, Canon has been an excellent brand for me to personally use, so I'm going to recommend it. I would highly recommend purchasing a full frame camera over a cropped sensor. If you plan on being a professional newborn photographer or even a professional photographer, you're not going to want anything to hold you back. A cropped sensor provides limitations. It's more a camera body that's for someone who plans on just doing it as a hobby or someone who just wants to take pictures of their kids. A full frame camera also has a larger sensor. This allows more light in when you're in a darker situation. That's going to really help in certain situations, such as basically if the sun is setting and you're doing a maternity session, you bump up your ISO, but the larger sensor allows you to have more flexibility with your settings, etc. If you want, I will do a separate post on a full frame camera. Let's move on. Lenses. For newborn photography specifically, I would highly recommend two focal lengths. One would be 50mm focal length, and the second is a 35mm focal length. The 50mm provides less distortion when you're photographing your subject. A 35mm is excellent for those wider angles, and there's several different options for a 50mm lens with Canon. First being, there's the very bottom of the barrel 50mm 1.8. It's a plastic lens. It's good if you don't want to invest a lot of money and you just want to try it, but if you don't have the money to waste, don't waste it on that lens. Even though it's less than $200, you can buy one used for under $50, and it's a waste of money, to be honest. If you want something that's of quality, there's the next level, which is the 50mm 1.4. Now, I own this lens, and it's a workhorse. It's been an awesome lens. It's sharp, it's crisp, it's fast, it's got beautiful bokeh, which is the blurry background, and it's been an excellent lens. And it's not going to break the bank. This lens is only, if it's on sale, $350, regular price around $500. So you can't really go wrong. Now, the third 50mm focal length lens with Canon is the top of the line. Now, this is a very expensive, high quality lens, and it is the 50mm 1.2. Now, this lens, although it is expensive and it can be amazing, there have been a lot of issues in the past and present where people buy them, the 50mm 1.2, and it is soft in the focusing, and they cannot seem to get a sharp image. Now, this would be very frustrating if you're doing a newborn session or any kind of photography session and you cannot get a sharp image. That's what people are paying you for, is a sharp image. Now, you can send in your lens to Canon and you can have it calibrated. You can also have your camera body sent in as well to calibrate the two of them together. I've also heard a new term called marrying the camera body and lens. I don't know anything about it, but it's something I'm going to look into. Now, the last 50mm focal length lens that is on the market is actually not a Canon lens, but it is made to go on a Canon camera body, and it is by Sigma, and they have new lenses in their art series. And so they have the 50mm art lens, and I believe that it is a 1.4. And the only problem with Sigma, and I have personally had this problem, is yet again in low light situations it is not a reliable lens. You will not necessarily have a sharp image. Now, the information that I've received from several different photographers, hundreds in fact, because I'm in a lot of photography groups, is that 50% of the people that buy these Sigma art lenses are like over the moon excited. It's the best lens they've ever owned. And then the other 50% are like, this is garbage. I can't get a sharp focus. It won't pull focus, or it's soft. And that's just not something you want to deal with. So it really just depends if you want to gamble and take that risk. I'm going to lightly touch on software, specifically Adobe Photoshop using ACR, which is Adobe Camera Raw, or Lightroom. Now, there is a bazillion photographers out there that swear by Lightroom and say that Lightroom is all you need to use no matter what kind of photography you're doing. And I would agree with that to a certain extent. However, that does not include newborn photography. The problem is with newborn photography is most of the time you're going to do a session and that newborn is either going to be jaundice, have super ruby red skin, have translucent skin, have a light yellowy skin, have horrible baby acne, scratches from their little fingernails, or they might have major bruising from birth that their parents want removed, or maybe they have something that you really need to eliminate in Photoshop. And with Lightroom, when you're using Lightroom, you're gonna have to take it into Photoshop to do that. So you might as well not even use Lightroom if that's all you're doing is newborn photography. If you're using Lightroom to organize, that's fine, but you don't even have to use Lightroom to organize because Adobe Camera Raw provides Adobe Bridge. It's free, it's part of the program. And you can do everything like cataloging your galleries and organizing and do everything from there. And you can call your images from Adobe Bridge. And the cool thing about Adobe Camera Raw is that once you open your images from Bridge, and I just learned this like 2 years ago, or a year ago, no, almost 2 years ago, is that you can, when you open it with ACR, you can open it into Photoshop, and then from Photoshop, without having to save it, you can open it back in ACR and do any tweaking that you want to do, and then reopen it in Photoshop. And you can do it as many times as you want, and then you can save it. And with Lightroom, you can't do that. With Lightroom, you have to open the image from Lightroom into Photoshop, and then you work on it, and then you have to save it into a special folder so that it can open in Lightroom. So if you want to go back and forth with Lightroom, you'll have to save it every single time. Whereas with ACR, you just have to save it when you're completely finished with the image. It's a game changer. You're going to love it if you try it. The best thing to do is purchase presets that have a lot of good reviews, apply the presets in ACR, open the image in Photoshop, quickly do your skin smoothing and any kind of removal of flaky skin or scratches or acne, and then save your image and you're good to go. It will save you so much time, trust me. Okay, let's talk offices. What kind of computer do you like to use? And are you a PC user or are you a Mac user? Well, as a photographer and using heavy-duty software to edit your images, you're going to want a workhorse computer. And I can personally tell you from experience that having 2 PCs burn out within the first year was very expensive and stressful to deal with. After that first year of photography, I decided to purchase a 27-inch iMac computer. Best decision I could have made at that time. I was blown away with the quality, and the editing was just faster and better and more efficient, and working on that massive screen was wonderful. But the thing about Macs is that they've been designed to work with Photoshop. They are a software editing computer. That is what they are built for. And if you're not a computer person and you don't know the first thing about computers, but you know that you need a good computer to invest in to work on with Photoshop, then I highly suggest an iMac or a MacBook Pro. Now, the thing is that Adobe Photoshop is the software that you're going to want to use. It's a huge program. It's so huge, and it slows and bogs down a computer if not on the right computer. And so you're going to want a computer that is capable and doesn't lag and slug through while you're trying to edit your images, because you will be editing 100 times longer than if you had a computer that's capable of doing it. So the next subject I wanted to speak upon is studio light. Now, a lot of newborn photographers choose to do natural light, and that's fine. The thing about natural light, though, is that it can be very inconsistent, and you have to know that when you're using natural light that you can only have one light source. So if you're using a room that has 2 windows, one on each side of the room, you need to block out the light on one side of the room so that you only have one light source. I personally use studio light. I do not use natural light anymore. I used to for 4 out of 7 years of newborn photography. I use natural light. One problem that I did find is I live in Canada, and we have very overcast skies a good portion of the year. And when you have overcast skies, it really eliminates and reduces how much natural light can come through a window. And depending on the time of day, you might not have any light at all, but also the white balance of your images can change rapidly within seconds. If a cloud goes over in front of the sun, then it's going to be really dark, your image, and it's going to be cold. Or if it's really bright, then your images could be blown out when the sun finally comes out of that cloud. It's a lot of variables that you need to work with, and you need to really understand how to manipulate natural light. Studio light can, when done properly, can produce an image that's so natural and pleasing to the eye that nobody can even tell if it's a natural light image or if it is a studio light, because the shadows are so soft. I personally use an Einstein now. I used to have an Alien B400, and I decided to upgrade to the Einstein. And it's awesome. It's been a really great upgrade for me. And I use the 86-inch PLM. Now, the Einstein and the PLM softbox umbrella is through Paul C. Buff. I highly recommend looking on their website and ordering all your studio essentials. The next thing that you need to really narrow down is a studio space that's dedicated to your photography. The reason being is that newborn photography takes up a lot of room. You're going to have a lot of props. You're going to have your light set up, or your beanbag set up, and your heater, as well as seating area for parents, and etc. The list goes on, and you will be blown away with how much you accumulate in a short amount of time. Now, you do not need a large room to photograph a newborn session in. I have actually made a post of just throwing a studio setup together in a living room while I was waiting for my current studio space to be open. I previously had a home studio that was 10 feet by 20 feet. I was very fortunate. That was an amazing space that I was using. It just ended up being too difficult to have in my home. I have 4 kids, and always having to have the home ready for clients to come over when you have 4 young children, it's a burden I didn't want to deal with anymore. Now my studio space is actually even smaller, my current studio space. But as a newborn photographer, believe it or not, the smaller the studio space, the better, because the faster the room will heat up, and you don't actually have to have a very big room to do newborn photography. My space of my office studio, or my studio space, is, I believe, 10 feet by 8 feet. It's not very big. But I do have a private sitting area for my parents to sit in and come back and forth, or mom can stay with me in the room the whole time. But this also gives a cooler area for dad and siblings to hang out. I'm going to try and breeze through newborn photography essentials, just because I have everything written in a blog post that I'm going to link at the bottom of this video, and everything goes into detail on that post, but I'm just going to quickly breeze through this now. You're going to either need a beanbag or a dog bed. And the dog bed is the one that's with the metal bars, and it's like a mesh fabric on top. It's durable. It's the new thing. I own it. I just bought it, and it's a game changer. I absolutely love it. A beanbag can be expensive. It can hurt your back when you're bending over. Check out the dog bed. It's awesome. If you want to have a good starter set of props, I would recommend 3 different things. A wooden bucket, a wooden crate, and a wooden bucket, wooden crate, and also a bowl, a wooden bowl. If you have those 3 things, You really don't need to buy any other kind of props until you've started making money and you have money to burn. Just focus on those 3 things. The next thing is fabric. You're going to need to have a certain type of fabric to go over your beanbag or your dog bed. You want it to be stretchy, you want it to be thick, and you want to have lots of layers. So start with a fleece on the bottom to make it thick, and then buy fabrics that are either of a sweater knit or a jersey knit to start off with, and you can go to the fabric store and you can get that, and it's relatively affordable instead of buying online. And I would recommend sticking with neutral color tones. If you're just starting out with newborn photography, don't go with crazy colors, because at the end of the day, you're going to regret it. Second of all, you're going to have to deal with funky color cast on their skin while you're editing, which is going to take you 100 more years than you planned on. And it's not going to give you the results you think you're going to get. Just stick with neutrals. Stick with creams, tans, either blush pink or very, very light brown, like a very camel-y light brown. Stay away from bright colors just until you get the hangs of things, and then you can branch off into more wild colors. The next thing I want to discuss is flooring. What kind of flooring do you need for a newborn prop setup? You actually, if you photograph properly and learn how to do this, you actually only need a floor. You don't actually need a wooden backdrop. So if you just want to invest in a small wood floor, all you do is go to Home Depot. There's a barnwood section that they've opened up the last couple years, and buy 3 8-foot lengths and cut them in half, and then you have 6 planks, and that's all you need. If you use a 50mm lens and you shoot down on an angle, you don't even need a backdrop, and you don't need to clone or do anything. It's perfect. That's all you need is 6 boards, and they only need to be 4 feet by 4 feet. So it's perfect. And the more you buy, the wider it'll be. And as for backdrops, I would recommend a 107-inch seamless paper. Now start with bone. Bone is a cream colored. It's easy to work with. Get used to what you're doing, and then move on to other colors. Some other colors that are in the Savage color line are chestnut. It's a deep, rich brown. Mocha, it's a lighter brown, or a thunder gray. Thunder gray is what I use. I also use a white. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like really white, and I love it. I'm gonna try chestnut next, and I love it. But get the 107-inch width. That's the one you want. They're $100, and you buy them at McBain or online, or whatever camera store you have in your local area. Okay, now we're gonna talk about bonnets, and we're gonna talk about tiebacks. Now tiebacks are the little dainty little headbands that you're gonna buy for your newborns. Think dainty, don't go oversized. When you have a newborn head that's like a tiny, like really tiny, you don't want a big object on it that's going to overpower the image. You want something small and dainty that just shows how little the baby is. You don't want to overpower anything. Now, as for bonnets, try and order bonnets that are made out of natural fibers. You don't want to have anything made out of acrylic, unless it's a very expensive acrylic, but you're not going to know that from looking at a picture. Just make sure that whenever you're ordering a bonnet from a prop vendor that you actually see it in use to make sure it's the right size, and make sure that it's a natural fiber. So it can be merino wool, it can be brushed alpaca, it can be mohair, it can be any kind of alpaca or wool or whatever. But there's, Angora. Ooh, Angora is beautiful. The next thing that you're gonna want to think about investing in is to go under the fabric on the beanbag or dog bed. It would be those posing beans. They look like a giant bean, and they're made out of like a velvety white fabric or colored fabric. Now these have only been popular for the last couple years, and you really don't need them. I actually have been doing photography for a long time, and I only just got a set from a vendor. Sugar Baby Photo Props, she's awesome. I got a white set from her, and I'm just getting used to it, but they are really cool. So if you don't have the money for that, then I would suggest just using rolled up receiving blankets. They work just fine. Okay, the next thing you're gonna need in your studio room is a space heater. You really want the room to heat up. You don't want it to be cold. You want it to be very warm. You don't have to have it on the whole time if your room stays warm, but you do need to have the room quite hot. You'll know how hot, because you're not gonna have it boiling, but you're not gonna have it cold. You need it when you're posing the baby to have it hot. Okay, next thing is white noise. You can buy an app on your phone called the Baby Shusher, or you can buy the actual Baby Shusher. It's literally just shushing noises, and it works wonders. White noise is great. Okay, so I'm just going to touch very quickly on education. The thing is with newborn photography is you think, oh, it's just a baby on a blanket, whoop-de-doo. The thing is a newborn baby is a human person. It's a very important little human person. And if you don't know what you're doing and you try to pose the baby in a bucket and you are unsafe, you could hurt that baby. You need to know what you're doing. And so I highly recommend investing in either some form of online education, and educate yourself. Find out what poses are safe for newborn photographers who are beginners. If you have the money, I would highly recommend investing in a one-on-one in-person workshop. But if you don't have the money, just do something online. There's a bazillion. Just look on Instagram, use the hashtag online mentoring or online workshops for newborn photography. You will find something. The next thing is you need to have insurance. Don't be fooled. You need to have it. Don't even think about starting your business without having insurance. You need to have at least $2 million liability. It protects you, it protects your client. The next thing you need is a website. Don't go and buy a website without having your own domain name. Nobody wants to look at your website. No, Google's not even going to show you, recommend you if you do not have your own domain name. Try and find a website that has good SEO rankings. WordPress is at the top. You also need to have your own hosting, web hosting. So you're looking at a few $100s a year for the two of those. And the next thing that you're going to need besides having a website is a proofing gallery available to you. Now, proofing galleries are excellent because you don't always want to have to edit 100 pictures for your clients to choose. A proofing gallery will allow you to upload as many pictures as you want from that gallery, and they can star it or choose it. Or perhaps you've uploaded your edited gallery and your clients can favorite the ones that they want and they can order those ones, or they can even order prints off of it. Anyways, I recommend Shootproof. That's what I use. Shootproof is awesome. It's only about $12 a month, and you get 1,500 images at a time on that site. You can upgrade or you can lower it. It's up to you. Now, I would recommend if you're going to blog, which is key and essential to Google ranking, is Blogstomp and Albumstomp for making albums. I've got that in my blog, so you can just look at that if you forget. Now, one of the second to last things is a contract. You need to have a contract for all of your clients. I was unaware of this when I first started, and it just protects you. It protects you. It allows you to share on social media and your website without ever having to deal with anybody who comes back and says, well, you didn't have my permission, even though you're the one that owns the picture. It's just a protection. And also, if you want to submit any of your images to other blogs to publish your work, then you already have the contract signed and you have the permission to do it. Last, you need an external hard drive. Get an external hard drive, back up everything. Don't be that person that doesn't back anything up and then you lose everything for your clients. Okay, last of all is discussing what you're charging for your newborn photography. Now, I don't know about you in your market, but in mine, there is literally 500 newborn photographers popping out of the woodwork every few months. And I live next to a big city of 1 million people population, and there's thousands of photographers, thousands. And the problem is that it is not cheap to run a newborn photography business. You're looking at thousands of dollars of investment, thousands upon thousands of dollars. And it's an ongoing monthly expense. It is not something that you just have a camera and it's paid for and you're good. You're looking at all the things that I've already listed in the video. It's costing you money to be in business. So why would you do it for free? And it's something that we internally feel like we need to give everything away for free. I know that's the way I am. I have a really hard time charging. But a few years ago, I realized that I was working day and night, all day and night, editing at night, working during the day, and I barely saw my family. it's not worth it. I was literally making, at the end of the day, after all the hours I was putting in, I was maybe making a couple bucks an hour. And I'm not exaggerating. So I want you to read the last section of my blog post on saturated newborn photography market. It just breaks things down and really helps you understand that you need to invest in yourself. You've already invested in your business, so you need to understand that you're valuable. Your time is valuable. Your family time is valuable. Your work, all of it, it's all valuable. So don't give it away for free. Unless you want to. Unless you want to do a model release, or a model call, and you want to just have fun and be creative and do a bunch of work just for fun, then that's okay. But do not undervalue yourself. It's really important. You need to understand that your business will not survive if you don't charge what you're worth. And the thing is that your husband or your wife, maybe they have a full-time job, so you think, oh, well, this is just extra money, so it's okay if I only charge $50 or $100 for a session because it's extra money in our pocket. But the thing is the person next to you who needs to put food on the table with their photography business is now struggling because every single new photographer out there is devaluing the market by thinking and making people think that nobody has to pay for this service. So please do read that blog post, and I just wanted to say thank you for stopping in to watch this video. Give me a shout on social media. I'm Raindrop Photos, RAYNE, Drop Photos, or I'm on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you and your thoughts, and I just want to say thank you for watching this. Please subscribe and let me know if there's any other topics that you would like